My daughter leaned in with her perfect bridal smile, the one she practiced for photographs, and whispered into my ear, "I wish you were not here." Her lips never stopped curving upward. No one would have known what she said if they had not been standing close enough to hear it, but I heard it. I am her mother. I hear everything. For a moment, I felt the air leave my chest. Then something inside me steadied, like a door clicking shut. I lifted my chin, looked straight into Lila Rowan's shining eyes, and said quietly, "Consider that done." The music kept playing, but the room changed. Conversations broke off mid-sentence. Forks hovered above plates. A bridesmaid's laugh died in her throat. Lila's smile faltered, then cracked completely, as if she had just realized she had spoken too loudly for fate to ignore. "Mom, do not," she hissed under her breath, still trying to hold the shape of her happiness together. "I already did," I replied. Her new husband, Adrian Marsh, glanced between us, confused. His mother pulled her lips tight. Sensing trouble she did not understand. Even my ex-sister-in-law shifted in her chair, eyes narrowing at me like I had broken something precious. None of them knew what Lila had said. None of them knew what I had already sacrificed for this day, but all of them felt the shift. I stepped back from the dance floor, smoothing my dress with steady hands, 71 years old, a lifetime of swallowing words, and my voice had never sounded calmer. I turned and walked away before she could say another thing to me. Behind me, I heard hushed voices ripple through the reception hall, little fragments of shock clattering around like beads on a marble floor. I did not look back. As I walked, I felt something strange rising in me. Not shame, not pain, something cleaner. A line being drawn after decades of standing in the wrong place. That was the moment everything between us broke open. Let me tell you how we reached the sentence that ended everything. When does a daughter stop seeing her mother as home and start seeing her as something to hide? I asked myself that as I sat alone in my car after leaving the wedding, my hands still trembling from what Lila had said. The truth is, it did not begin tonight. It began decades ago, in Tacoma's North End, long before she understood the difference between wanting more and being ashamed of what she had. Back then, it was just the two of us. My husband, Henry Rowan, died when Lila was 6 years old. One sudden heart attack, one silent morning, and I was a widow with a child who looked at me like I knew how to fix everything. I picked up double shifts at St. Joseph Medical Center, nights, weekends, holidays, whatever kept the lights on, and Lila in school. I walked her to Grant Elementary every morning before work, her small hand wrapped around mine. She used to skip along the sidewalk, telling me every detail of her dreams. I sewed her dresses at night, sometimes until my fingers ached, because store-bought ones cost too much. On winter concert nights, we shared hot cocoa from faded mugs. She would lean into my shoulder and say, "You're the best mom. You know that." She meant it back then. But time changes a child in ways a mother cannot stop. By middle school, she began noticing things: my scuffed shoes, my old sedan, the way I packed lunch instead of buying it. Her friends had parents with bigger houses, newer clothes, vacations I could never afford. One afternoon, when she was 13, she stood by the school entrance with her arms crossed. "Do not pick me up in that car anymore," she said. "My friends will see." Her words stung more than she realized. I nodded, told her I understood, and parked 2 blocks away the next day. After that, I learned to shrink myself quieter at school events, standing behind taller parents during performances, leaving quickly after ceremonies so no one would notice me, piece by piece. That was how I became someone my own daughter hoped no one would see. How much can a mother give before she finally admits she is being used? I asked myself that the day Lila showed up at my apartment with a binder so thick it looked like she had stolen it from a conference room. She placed it on my kitchen table and tapped the cover. "This is the wedding budget," she said. "Adrian's family expects everything to be polished. We want it to be elevated." I opened the binder. Pages of itemized lists, highlighted costs, notes in the margins. "Leela," I said softly, "this looks expensive." "It is," she replied. "But you always said you wanted to help when I got married. This is your chance." Before I could answer, she slid a sheet toward me. "The venue deposit is due first. It is $8,000. Dress alterations are another $900. Catering upgrades are about $3,000. And later, when things calm down, we'll need some help with the down payment on our first home." "Down payment," I repeated. She shrugged as if it were obvious. "Adrian's parents are contributing, too. It is normal. Besides, you have that retirement fund." I had worked 3 decades of double shifts at St. Joseph Medical Center, saving what I could. I had planned to stretch those savings through the rest of my life. But Lila's eyes were bright, hopeful in a way I had not seen in years. I wanted her to feel supported, wanted, loved. So I nodded. "Let me see what I can do." Over the next few weeks, I emptied a portion of my retirement account and wrote checks, one by one. Lila always accepted them with a quick thanks before rushing to her next appointment. When I met Adrian's parents at a small dinner, his mother smiled and said, "Lila told us you two have everything handled." Lila didn't correct her. She just touched Adrian's arm and laughed lightly, as if money flowed effortlessly through her life. Later, when the wedding planner emailed the contract, I scrolled to the bottom and froze. Primary payer Althea Rowan. Responsible party Althea Rowan. My daughter had made sure my name carried the weight of her perfect celebration, even if she barely wanted me in the picture. What hurts more, being forgotten or being deliberately pushed aside? I felt the answer tightening in my chest the evening of the rehearsal dinner. The restaurant sat on the Gig Harbor waterfront, but I barely noticed the view. The moment I walked in, the photographer lifted his camera and said, "All right, immediate family only." He gestured toward Adrian, his parents, and Lila. Lila glanced at me. "Mom, could you just—" "Wait a minute," she murmured. "We'll do one with you after." I stepped back. No one turned to include me. The bridesmaids gathered near the bar, their pastel dresses swishing as they leaned close. I heard one whisper, "Is that her mom? I thought she would dress a little more formal." Another replied, "Lila said she shops at thrift stores." "It makes sense." I tried to focus on the menu. Anything but the sound of their muffled snickering. A few minutes later, I heard Lila behind me, her voice soft and strained. "She means well." She was telling Adrian's mother, "Just do not expect much from her. She gets overwhelmed." Adrian looked at me across the room. His eyes flickered with something embarrassment, discomfort, but he stayed silent. His mother nodded slowly, the kind of nod people give when they have already decided what they think. Dinner moved along awkwardly. Every time I tried to join a conversation, someone shifted away. When the coordinator came over with the plan for the reception toasts, Lila cleared her throat. "Actually," she said, "I think it is best if Mom sits this one out. There is already a lot going on." She did not look at me when she said it. I nodded, even though it felt like something inside me folded in on itself. "That's fine," I whispered, on the drive home. My phone buzzed with messages from guests. I ignored them. When I finally lay down that night, I stared at the ceiling, listening to the quiet. Something had changed, not suddenly, but completely. I closed my eyes and felt the truth settle over me like a cold sheet. Tonight was not just a rehearsal. It was a preview of where my place would be in her new life. What is the final straw for a mother who has carried a lifetime of quiet hurt? I learned mine on the morning of Lila's wedding. I arrived early with a small bag of things I thought she might need: safety pins, tissues, a compact mirror I had used on my own wedding day. When I stepped into the bridal suite, Lila glanced at my dress and froze. Mom. Oh no, she said. That shade is not going to work. The photos will look off. I looked down at the soft blue fabric. It was the closest I could find. I said, I thought it looked nice. It is not the right shade, she repeated, as if I had broken something fragile. Can you just stay out of the main shots today? A bridesmaid stepped forward. Yeah, maybe stay on the side. We want everything to be cohesive. I nodded. All right. I will sit wherever you want. An hour later, the coordinator led me toward the ceremony aisle. You'll be in the back row, she said. Bride's instructions. The back row. Not mother of the bride, not even close. As I took my seat, 2 bridesmaids walked past me whispering, I hope she does not cry. One said, or make a scene. I kept my hands folded in my lap. A few minutes later, another voice floated from somewhere near the altar. Lila's voice, quick and desperate. I just want today to be classy. My mom does not understand that. The words stung. But the ceremony went on. Lila glowed. Adrian smiled. The guests clapped. And I sat where she wanted me, invisible. At the reception, I approached her to congratulate her. She turned with that perfect smile, leaned in close so no one else could hear, and whispered, I wish you were not here. Just like that. The last thread inside me snapped. I stood straighter than I had in years. Then you will not have to worry about that, I said softly. Not today, not ever again. What does a mother do when she finally stops begging for a place in her child's life? I felt the answer settle into my bones the moment Lila whispered that she wished I were not there. I straightened my back. My voice came out calm, almost gentle. Consider that done, I told her. She blinked fast. Mom, stop. You are overreacting. I am not, I said, but I am finished pretending. Adrian looked between us, confused. What is going on? Lila hissed. Nothing. She is being dramatic. I lifted my hand slightly. No, I am being honest. Something I should have been a long time ago. A few nearby guests turned. I did not raise my voice, but I did not hide it either. Your venue deposit, I paid it. $8,000. The dress alterations, I covered those. The catering expansions. That was another $3,000. And the down payment you expected for your future home. I shook my head. Do not count on it. Lila's face drained of color. Why are you doing this? I am not doing anything. I said, I am simply returning responsibility to the people who took credit for my help. Behind her, Adrian's mother whispered to her husband. She paid for all of that. He stared at me, stunned. Lila said, I know what she said. I replied, I have listened to her stories for years. Just then, the wedding planner hurried through the crowd, holding her phone. Lila, the venue is calling. They cannot process the remaining balance. They said we need the primary payer. Lila swallowed. Talk to my mom. No, I said quietly. Not anymore. The planner frowned at her clipboard. The contract lists Althea Rowan as the responsible party. If she is not continuing, we need another card immediately. A ripple moved through the room. Chairs shifted. Conversations stopped. Lila's perfect bridal smile collapsed, piece by piece. I took one step back. You will not have to endure me or depend on me again, I said. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. I turned and walked away, leaving her standing in the center of her own celebration, watching the version of herself she built begin to crack. What happens to a perfect couple once their biggest secret is exposed? I found out the same night I left the reception. When I reached my small apartment in Tacoma, I locked the door, sat at my table, and turned off my phone, not in anger, in peace. The kind of peace that comes when a door finally closes the way it should have years earlier. I let the silence settle around me. It felt like breathing clean air for the first time in a long time. When I powered my phone back on the next morning, the messages flooded in like a storm. Missed calls from Lila, voicemails from Adrian, a long text from his mother asking, "Is it true? Did you really pay for everything I did not answer?" By afternoon, the fallout had begun. Adrian's mother called again, her voice sharp. "Lila told us you barely helped with the expenses. She said you insisted on being in the contract to feel involved. I spoke plainly. The contract is in my name because I paid for it." There was a long pause. Then she whispered, "My goodness." Later that evening, a message from Adrian appeared. "Your mom said the down payment was guaranteed." He wrote, "Now she tells me you changed your mind." I typed slowly. "I did not change my mind. I was never asked. I was told." His reply came almost instantly. "She lied to us." I set my phone aside. Some truths did not need my help. Not long after, the wedding planner called me. "Ms. Rowan, since you withdrew your card, the venue needs immediate payment for the remaining balance. We cannot proceed without someone else covering it." "I understand," I said. "I will not be the one doing that." When Adrian confronted Lila, the argument carried through the walls of their perfect new life. I heard it secondhand. A friend who worked at the venue told me he had snapped. Why were you ashamed of your own mother? Their honeymoon upgrade was canceled. The house plans stalled. And for the first time since they met, the cracks between them became impossible to hide. I stayed quiet. They were seeing themselves clearly without me holding anything together. Can silence be the loudest form of justice? I began to understand the answer in the days that followed. I kept to myself, moving through my routine with a lightness I could not explain. My old coworker Marjorie called first. I heard what happened. She said gently, "You deserved better than that." My neighbor, Mrs. Clark, knocked on my door with a container of soup. "Proud of you," she murmured. Even a friend from church left a message. Some children forget who held them up. "You did the right thing, Althea." I thanked them all, but I still stayed quiet. Lila did not. She sent paragraphs that lit up my screen every few hours. "You ruined my big day. You embarrassed me in front of Adrian's family. You could have talked to me privately." I read every word and replied to none of them. Then a message came from Adrian. "I am sorry for how she spoke to you." He wrote, "I should have stepped in sooner." I stared at it for a long moment before responding. "Thank you." An hour later, another message arrived from him. "Could we talk sometime?" Just the two of us. Not Lila, Adrian. That told me everything about the state of their new marriage. By midweek, the truth began spreading without my help. One of Lila's bridesmaids posted a group photo, and someone asked why I had not been in any of the family shots. Another friend commented, "Did you hear her mom paid for the whole thing?" Soon after, screenshots started circulating in their friend circle receipts from the dress alterations. I paid for the catering invoices with my signature, the venue contract, listing me as the responsible party. None of it came from me. I never shared a thing. The truth had legs of its own. Adrian's parents withdrew the financial promise they had made for the young couple's first home. Someone told me, they said, if she lied about this, what else is she hiding? 2 months into marriage, Lila and Adrian began counseling. I learned that from the same friend who had heard their first fight. She said they were struggling to communicate. I stayed silent. My silence said enough. What does healing look like for a woman who finally chose herself? For me, it began quietly. I started walking along Ruston Way in the mornings, letting the sound of footsteps and distant gulls steady my thoughts. I joined a small watercolor group that met in the back room of a local craft shop. Most of the members were widows or retirees like me, women who carried whole lifetimes in the soft lines of their hands. We painted, talked, laughed a little. It felt good to sit in a room where no one expected anything from me. Twice a week, I volunteered at Tacoma Community House, helping older immigrants fill out medical forms. I found comfort in the routine, in the simple act of being useful without being drained. Little by little, I felt parts of myself returning the parts that had existed long before Lila needed me for everything. One afternoon, just as I was folding laundry, my phone rang. It was Lila. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something inside me said to answer. Her voice came through in gasps. "Mom, things are bad. Adrian is angry. His parents are done with us. We are struggling. I do not know what to do. I waited. I need you to talk to them," she said. "Explain things. Fix this. Please." There it was, the expectation she had built her whole life on, that I would catch her when she fell, rebuild what she broke, carry weight she insisted was not hers. I kept my voice soft. "Lila, I am not stepping back into this." "What, Mom? You cannot just abandon me." "I am not abandoning you," I said. "I am respecting myself. You created a life where I did not belong, and I am not returning to it just because it is falling apart." She went silent. She had never heard me speak to her that way, never heard a boundary that did not bend. I folded the towel in my hands and set it aside. My voice stayed steady. "You have to carry your own life now." "Lila," she cried quietly. And for once, I did not rush in. I did not. What is the difference between revenge and freedom? I thought about that weeks after the wedding. On a quiet evening, when my phone buzzed with a number I recognized but had not heard from since the fallout. It was Adrian. His voice was low, almost careful. "Althea, I need to understand something. Lila told us you barely helped with the wedding, but the contracts, the invoices, they tell another story." I sat down at my kitchen table. "What do they tell you?" "That you paid for almost everything," he said. "That the venue was in your name. That you covered thousands in costs we thought her parents were taking care of." He exhaled shakily. "Why would she lie about that?" I answered the only way I knew how, plainly. "She was ashamed of me." "That is the truth, and it has been the truth for a long time." He was silent for a moment. Then he said, "I am not angry at you. I am angry at her." I closed my eyes. His anger was not my victory. It was simply the weight of truth settling where it always belonged. Over the next weeks, I heard pieces of their unraveling from people who had no reason to soften the details. Their counseling sessions grew tense. Adrian stopped defending her. His parents stopped offering support. Conversations in their home shifted from newlywed plans to accusations. Long pauses, and doors closing softly instead of slamming. Disappointment is quieter than rage. One afternoon, Lila called again. Her voice was small, fragile. "Mom, please, can we talk? Everything is falling apart. I need you." I let the silence sit between us. Then I answered. "Talk to the woman you married into that day, not the mother you pushed out. Mom, please." I hung up gently, not out of spite, but out of peace. I looked out my window afterward and felt something steady inside me. I had not punished her. I had not sought revenge. I had simply stopped shielding her from the consequences she created. I did not break her life. I just walked out. And without me, it collapsed under the weight of her own choices. If this story stays with you, you can like, comment, or subscribe to support more stories like this. Your voice helps these moments find the people who need them. What do you think is the real cost of taking a mother's love for granted?